Yearnings, like distant bells in the night, call us onward, ever restless and half known. Perhaps they've stirred you awake, asking their questions in your quiet hours. Where does my deeper purpose lie? What restless ache refuses to sleep within me? I'm Lorianne King, and I'd like to welcome you to the Murmur and the Muse, where we dare to ask the hidden questions that pull us toward our own unfolding. Here, we'll explore what tugs at your heart, those unrealized longings, the sense of disconnection that waits for alignment, and the silent barriers you've carried too long. Through intuitive, integrative insight and soulful reflection, we'll unearth what might illuminate your true path. So settle in, for this is a place where longing can become fuel for living, where the questions we've postponed might at last shape our tomorrow. So join me as we enter the hush between knowing and not knowing. Together, we'll see how these old yearnings might guide us to fulfillment and how new alignments can help us walk through the doors we once thought closed. Let's begin. Tending the raw nerve, honoring the ache that binds us to life. You know, sometimes it takes more than the swirl of steam from a tea kettle to call us into remembrance. You might be in your kitchen rummaging for a special box of Marks and Spencer's extra strong tea. Maybe it's an heirloom ritual passed down through mother, grandmother, great aunt, and suddenly your heart tightens, your throat knots, and there's an ache you can't quite name. This is where we begin, in that raw nerve of longing and love. If you've ever felt these waves of emotion crash out of nowhere, grief, memory, longing, stay with me. We'll uncover how these moments are invitations to meet our deepest truths, to dwell in them, and to emerge more whole. So today's episode gently leads us into the realm of overwhelming emotions. So important, particularly the grief that doesn't abide by our schedules. It arrives on birthdays, death anniversaries, holidays, or in a sudden craving for a pot of proper English tea. Many of us, especially those stepping into or already living midlife, carry a well of stories, departed parents, siblings who've recently crossed over, beloveds always gone too soon. Gone is a word that doesn't quite describe it. It comes out because it is such a feeling of goneness, but I truly believe that they still exist. Gone, lost. I'm always changing those words to they're not lost. They just exist in a different dimension than we do now. So they are not gone. We just have to work differently to connect. You know, perhaps you know this feeling, that feeling when it comes to you. that goneness, that lost, that slow ache in the chest, the prickle of tears at the corner of the eye, the hush that whispers, "Go ahead, I dare you, open the door to that memory, come closer." In my own life, grief has been more than companion than stranger. I've said goodbye to those I thought I'd have by my side much longer. My late husband, my beloved sister who passed only in December last year. It still feels like it was weeks ago. And now this gentle reminder of my mother's presence on today, her birthday. A memory of her forever simmering teapot on the stove. The aroma of strong English tea filling the kitchen, unmistakable. Her voice, "Would you like a cup of tea, darling?" It's fresh. Fresh could mean it had been there already for 2 hours. Such good memories. In that sense of home and belonging that grips your heart when you least expect it, you know what I mean? In a single moment, a wave of longing sweeps through, leaving me, maybe you, with this tension or tightness in my throat, a weightiness in my chest, and this quiet knowledge that tears must be allowed. It's a kindness to ourselves. So this is part of my process, and so I invite you into this with me. So let me give you a self-inquiry to work with. Here it goes. Are you ready? You got a pen and paper ready? What deeper yearnings or unresolved questions within you or me could benefit from that intuitive insight that we all possess? How might uncovering these answers propel us toward our true purpose and fulfillment? It's a big question. So let's unpack it. So perhaps the longing to hear a departed loved one's voice instead of just trying to remember it, or to see their face one more time, to see their hands, their gestures, their idiosyncrasies, instead of trying to remember them. This points to something more than nostalgia. That ache could reveal a calling. Maybe it's a nudge from them. I believe it is. Well, I am a psychic medium. I know it is. But what came first, the chicken or the egg? Maybe it's our own soul reminding us that there's a piece of ourselves yet to be lived. So when we pause and we let these tender, vulnerable moments speak to us, we discover that behind grief stands a creative, inspirational spark, For me, it's a reason to journal, to breathe deeper, to reclaim the stories we're meant to tell, to wrap yourself up into a big, cozy comforter and just journal, to push the world away and give yourself the grace, the time, the space, to be present with your experience and the moment of connection and the emotions. Yeah, opening it up. Let's do a second inquiry. So, in what areas of your life do you feel most disconnected or even not clear, not certain? And how could a deeper excavation or exploration of these areas of disconnect with your intuition, how could that support you in creating more alignment and more harmony in your existence? So you may sense that certain days, like me, birthdays, holidays, or a random Thursday afternoon, pull at these invisible threads, the threads that bind. In that longing for your mother, your father, your sister, a friend, your late spouse, you feel the starkness of your day-to-day busyness. And suddenly, there's a recognition that something's missing. The warmth of an old connection, the comfort of our roots. You know, in letting myself weep today, my mother's birthday, the memories that came flooding forward as I was making a cup of tea. Yes, Marks and Spencer's extra strong. It's the tea my grandmother and my great aunt drank and my mother drank, and it's just not easy to get anymore, but wow. When I'm craving it, I should know, I should warn myself, okay, you know, you're opening up a door, right? You're opening up a gateway, right? And so let ourselves weep. Give ourselves full permission. Let the memory wrap around you. You start bridging that disconnection in that moment. It's so healing. This act of leaning into our sorrow, it guides us home to who we are, where we come from, and what really matters. Meaning. It's so easy to lose touch with meaning in life these days. All right. I'm getting a little bit emotional here, but this is good. This was the whole point. I've been in this sort of soupy space visiting my mom, and I think she's sitting here with me. So let me give you another question. How might tapping into our intuition help us overcome the barriers that prevent us from fully embracing our own power and our own potential? What steps can we take to integrate this wisdom into our daily life? You know, the barrier might be fear. Fear that if we allow grief in, it's more like it sucks us in, but it's an interesting thing of the culture around grief. You know, don't get your grief on someone else, and certainly, you know, be careful how you let it in. It's in us already. It lives in us. But I feel like sometimes we're afraid that we're going to collapse under its weight, that we won't be able to stop. Or we fear that acknowledging our own heartbreak will actually stall our own progress. Anywhere, in our job, in our relationships, even in our personal goals. I mean, I'm talking to you through the biggest knot in my throat, because I truly believe that, even paradoxically, that when we welcome these feelings, they clear a path for a deeper sense of who we are. That's a kind of power. So when we let the tears fall, we learn that we're strong enough to face them. And when we cradle the memory, in my case it's my mother's memory today, through the steam of a craving for a favorite, bold, proper English tea. This is when we reclaim part of our lineage, our ancestry, our inheritance of resilience and love, and most importantly, belonging. So I'd like to give you some self-inquiry. So the first one is about these tender openings that happen when you least expect it. So here's the question. In the midst of longing, is there a single detail, a sound, a smell, a voice, a touch that stands out? What might it be asking you to remember about yourself? You know, noticing the small details can transform sorrow from an abstract kind of heaviness, weightiness, into a profound message of care. Today, when I had this sudden craving for this particular Marks and Spencer's extra strong black proper English tea that you can't get here anymore, I have to source it from England. And what flooded through for me was, you know, the presence of my mother, just like she just dropped in. And she was always this champion. She used to always say to me, you know, there's no such word as can't. And she really instilled in me that there's nothing that we can't do. And I guess I needed that message today. And perhaps maybe I just needed to feel her tenderness. Just the feeling of your mother, my mother anyway. Just, speaking in her beautiful English accent. And she had the tiniest, most adorable lisp. And she would ask you if you wanted a cup of tea. Because a cup of tea fixes everything. And it does. Well, I hope you're feeling all this, because it's getting harder to talk. All right, let me move on to the second one here. Is there a simple ritual for you, like making a cup of tea, lighting a candle, or writing a little sentence in your journal? Maybe it's a smell of a perfume. I have a bottle of my sister's perfume that every now and then I'm drawn to wear it. It's like she's coming with me. What is it that helps you navigate the waves of memory and keeps you tethered to peace and harmony? That's the space I'm in right now. Grounding ourselves in tangible action. Whether it's making a cup of tea or a silent prayer or looking at a photograph or running your fingers over something that belonged to somebody that is now in another space. These are containers of big emotion. All right, I got one more question for you. If you imagined meeting a loved one again, running to them as if time hadn't passed, what does that reunion awaken in your soul, here and now? Yeah, it's big. It's not grief. It's reunion. It's joy. It's like Valhalla. Visualizing that welcoming presence, that embrace, it can remind you that love survives beyond physical absence, infusing each day with deep meaning. Now, I do have to say that, some of our connections that have passed over, we maybe didn't have that kind of a connection with them. Maybe they were terribly mean and abusive to you. It's still an opportunity to do some inquiry and do some healing by being present with it. Life happens for us, not to us. All right. I just want to unpack this, because grief is not some kind of a station we pass in the train of life, but it's a companion that evolves with us. On days like today, my mom's birthday, or perhaps it's the birthday of someone that you've dearly missed, this ache It guides us deeper than any well-crafted plan for self-improvement can. It's poetry. And so when we allow the big emotions to come up, the tears, the weeping, the tightness in the throat, the gentle heaving, we are affirming that love and longing are woven into every breath we take. So whether you're journaling in your favorite nook, in your bed, wrapped up in a big duvet, or on your couch, or in a big easy chair, or sitting in the forest, whatever it is, maybe you're sipping a nice cup of tea from a cherished brand, reminiscent of your childhood. These moments, they bridge the gap between then and now. It's very quantum, because they're not here, not now, but we are here and now. And it is an entanglement. It is a bond speaking to us, singing us home to ourselves, ushering us into a space where healing blossoms and meaning, it expands. This was really big, and I feel really open, and I'm really happy that I had the courage and the vulnerability to share this with you. If my sharing today stirred something in you, I'm kind of glad. And I want to urge you to explore your own raw moments more deeply. If you need help, just reach out. The power of this intuitive integrative coaching marries up really well to this kind of an experience. And, we can navigate those hidden layers together. Memory, grief, longing. We can even invite those spirits to come forward. And if they're willing, they will. It's not guaranteed. But these are transformative things. And they take us into the well springs of wisdom and clarity. Let's honor the ache in our hearts and find purpose and meaning that it's been pointing us toward. I just want to thank you for taking the time to walk with me through these really tender memories and longing. And may you allow the wave of emotion to speak through whatever activation it is that works for you unconditionally when you least expect it, like when you're craving a good cup of tea. Memories have a way of tugging at our hearts. And so my wish for you is that every sigh, every tear, that you recognize it as evidence of your heart that is awake and alive and open to love, to the bonds that make you who you are today. Well, until next time, my spiritual kin, keep listening to that quiet urging within. Listen to that ache. Trust your feelings. They're not a burden. They're not something you want to try to control and push back down. They guide us, they lead us closer to the essence of who we are. Thanks for listening. We've lingered in that fertile space where the unspoken yearns to be heard. And in doing so, perhaps you've brushed up against a tiny glimmer of your own truth. And now, as we take our leave, I invite you to consider the depth of your questionings. What untended yearnings remain? Where do you feel most absent in your own life? And what unseen barrier still guards your power? These are the questions we explore in a discovery call. And in the act of asking, something shifts. The soul steps forward, ready to speak, and this is where real change begins. If you feel a stirring, a gentle, persistent call toward deeper understanding, I invite you to reach out. Let's turn those quiet murmurs into a living dialogue about the life you sense but haven't fully claimed. Until next time, let each day's small revelations nudge you further along your path. And may you carry these questions and the possibility they hold. After all, it's not our certainty that makes us whole. It's the willingness to uncover what's been waiting to be known.